Hello, everyone. So although I created a document explaining how to do the graphs in this class, I thought it might be nice to do a quick video showing you how to actually use Pasco Capstone to graph. And just be a little quicker than looking at that document. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is go to Pasco Capstone, right? Double click on the icon, and you should see this screen. Then you want to go to Classic Templates. So click on that. And then on the upper left-hand template right here, we want to use this one, which has a table and then the graph. So click on that. Okay, now let's say we're going to graph, I don't know, maybe time on the x-axis and position on the y-axis. So to note those labels, you would go to Select Measurement in the table here, Create New, User Enter Data, and then I'm going to put time, but because time is a default name, it doesn't like if we use just the word time by itself. It gives an error. So I'm going to do time and then underscore. And you can do whatever you want. You could put like time 2, just don't call it time. I'll hit the tab button or enter, either one. And then for units, I'm going to put S for seconds. Then I'll go to the second column, select measurement, create new, user enter data, and let's do position. Hit tab, and then maybe centimeters or meters. I'll do centimeters right now for my position. Okay, now you can enter your data. Let me just make up some data here. So let's say my time is 0 seconds, 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's say my position is 0, I don't know, 4.9 centimeters, 10.2 centimeters, 15 centimeters, 20.5 centimeters, and then 25 centimeters. And I'll enter that last one to make sure I have it. Okay, so I have all my data in the table. Now I want to graph it. So to do that, I go over to the graph. So I'll click on the graph. On the x-axis, I can go to select measurement and choose what variable I want to plot on the x-axis. So in this case, I want time. So I'm going to choose, remember I called it time underscore. I'll choose that. And on the y, I want position. So I'll click on select measurement and choose position. So it draws the graph. And what it does is it automatically, by default, connects the data points with line segments. And that's something we don't want because we typically want to do curves of best fit through our data. So to get rid of those line segment connections, what you do is you highlight one of your data points. So you hover over a data point, right click, and then uncheck the show connecting lines, and that'll get rid of them, okay? With a Windows machine, it works really well. With an Apple, I think you have to do control right click to actually highlight it, okay? You guys can play around with that. All right, now, a couple of things. We want to give this a title. We already have our labels with the units. It gives the same ones that we put in the table here. We want to put a title. You can do that on the bottom here. And typically, if you can't think of a good title, what you should do is just call it y versus x, right? So the y variable versus the x variable. Or another word for the y variable is the dependent variable. So it's dependent versus the x variable, which is the independent variable. So in this case, I'm just going to call this position versus time. Okay. And now to do a fit, well, this is sort of my made up data. It looks pretty linear. So I want to do a linear fit to the data. So to do the fit, you go up to this icon on the bar up here. Actually, the left side of the icon turns it on and off. So we want to leave it on. And then the little arrow is we can select what type of function we want to fit. So in this case, we just want a linear fit. Okay, so it does a linear fit. It gives you the information. In this case, we're given the slope, some errors. You can sort of ignore the errors. The B is the y-intercept. The R is the correlation coefficient. Typically, the slope is going to be of interest to us. Okay, so I'll just leave that information there. By the way, if your graph if it doesn't look like it's centered, like if it gets off-centered, what you can always do is go to this very left icon on the top row here and click on it, and it should recenter it for you, okay? All right, so this looks like a great graph. So now I want to save it. So typically the way we do that is you go over to the blue border, right click, go to copy display, and now you can paste it into whatever you want. So you could either paste it into a Word document, right? If you want to use Word for your lab reports, or a lot of students also use Google Docs, so you can paste it into a Google Doc, right? So you can share it. So whatever you want to do, you can just paste it into whatever software program you use. All right, now if we want to do another graph, there's a couple of ways we could do this, right? Let's say we want to use time again, but we want a new variable here. So I can actually just click on this, go to create new, use enter data. Let's say I want to plot time versus velocity versus time. So I want velocity. My units, let's say it's centimeters per second. So I can just do /s, right? Centimeters per second. And then let's say that this is going to be, I don't know, like parabolic. So I'll make up some data. Let's say 0, 1.1, I don't know, maybe 3.9, 8.8, 16, 25.2. Let's say that's my data. Okay. So now I go back down to the graph. You could choose a new graph if you want over on the side here. So where it says graph. Or if I just want to overwrite this one, since the X is going to be time, again, I can just leave time there. And for the Y, I will select this and choose velocity. Now it still has the linear fit from the previous graph, so we can turn that off by going to the fit icon. Turn that off. I want to change my title. Right now I want velocity versus time. We want to get rid of the line segment connection, so I'll highlight one of these points, right click, uncheck show connecting lines. I'm going to resend this a little bit. And in this case, it looks like a parabolic, right, shaped graph. So that would be a quadratic function. So when I go to fit, I'm going to do a quadratic fit data. Okay, that looks great. And now let's say I want to save this. By the way, you guys can kind of play around with things too. If you click on the information from the fit, you can edit the equation, like how it fits it. That's one possibility. You can click on the settings wheel right here. And if you go to curve fit, annotation appearance, you could change the color of the curve. You can make it thicker, like I might want to do bold. Okay, so it makes the fit a little bolder. So you can play around with that if you want. And then again, I would go to the blue border, right click on it. Oops. There we go. Copy display, and then paste it into whatever I want, right, for my lab report, either Word document or Google Docs. The other way of doing graphs, if you don't want to, if it gets too messy, you could just go to File, New Experiment, right? Let's say we don't want to save this. You could save this if you want as well, but let's say we want to discard this. And then you can just start from the beginning, right? Classic templates, and then choose that first icon. Okay, so that should give you at least some idea on how to use Pasco Capstone to do graphs, and you kind of have to play with it, right, to get better at this. Great, thanks.